Now presenting a speech for the Executive Tournament Director for the U.S. Chess Federation will be Tournament Director John Haskell.
Bill Hall, the Executive Director of the U.S. Chess Federation, could not be here today, so I've got a note from Bill Hall, and I'll read it to you. Welcome. As the Executive Director of the United States Chess Federation, it is my sincere pleasure to welcome all of you to the fourth installment of the international match between the University of Texas at Dallas in the United States and the University of Belgrade in Serbia. Chess is a truly international language that is spoken and understood across all cultural and geographical boundaries. Thus, it is a perfect platform for the symbolic joining for this competition. Not only does this match represent a synergy of modern technology and intellectual competition, but also of diverse cultural and political heritages. Chess is an excellent tool we can use to bring the world together and focus on our commonalities rather than our differences. The world has always and will always face difficult challenges. Chess is an excellent academic tool to prepare the next generation with the intellectual tools to face those challenges. I applaud both of these fine institutions for all of their efforts to reach out to these young people and to each other via this important match. These efforts will have a lasting impact on the lives of these participants, and thus the world's future as well. As a chess player, I personally look forward to following this match and the future matches, and I appreciate the model for competition that has been formed here. Thank you, Jim Stallings and UTD Dallas, for promoting this event and for establishing a model program for collegiate chess. To all, good luck and good chess. Regards, Bill Hall, Executive Director, U.S. Chess Federation.
Thank you, John.
Okay, it's indeed my honor to present a true legend, Grandmaster Svetozar Gligoric.
As a chess fan, I'm probably here the man with the biggest age as a onlooker. I wish to express my satisfaction and my pleasure that this tradition has been established between Dallas and Belgrade, and it is a beautiful sign how chess helps not only to enjoy intellectually the game, but also to develop friendships between nations. I give my best regards to American players and students and to ours as well, and I wish that you enjoy your games for their creativity, and whatever happens, we shall be glad to see you for the fifth time.
It's another chess legend for you, this time Grandmaster Ljubomir Ljubojevic. It is indeed a privilege.
Hello Dallas, good afternoon. I'm very glad that your university has taken great tradition of American chess, American history. This is a special evening for us here because this tradition continues. Belgrade is always happy to host any town in the world because you must know and remember that this is a chess country which has been very successful in the past when this country was once united. Now we are a little bit small nation, but we still hope that we have very big talents in this country, and we only want to wish to both of you good luck tonight and to be very creative, with great inspiration, produce nice games with the chess fans all over the world. We'll enjoy tonight. Have a nice time and all the best luck for the future to you and to Belgrade as well. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Those words from such very important grandmasters mean a lot to all of us. And now I'd like to introduce our Executive Director for Strategic Planning and Analysis, a chess player himself, Dr. Lawrence Remlinger.
Thank you. On behalf of the University of Texas at Dallas, I want to extend a very warm welcome to the tournament participants and to all of the guests. We at the University of Texas at Dallas are deeply impressed with the rich history and academic quality of our sister institution, the University of Belgrade. We welcome the opportunity to play this and many more matches as part of our academic interactions. Chess and academic quality and excellence go hand in hand, as evidenced by the fine talent on both sides of the pond. Promoting the use of chess in education is one of the key goals of the University of Texas at Dallas, because we realize that chess literacy and competency increases a young student's reading and other cognitive skills. It is truly remarkable that two teams can come together using a technology that could bring the world together. It is truly noteworthy that a royal and ancient game, a game that requires mental discipline as well as physical stamina, can be played on a truly electronic platform. Again, on behalf of the University of Texas at Dallas, I extend a warm welcome to all and look forward to many more interactions.
And now we're very pleased to have State Representative Jerry Madden with us today to say a few words.
Doctor, I'm honored to be here. First of all, at one time, a few years ago, I played second board for a team at the United States Military Academy at West Point. And I saw at that time so many wonderful grandmasters that you all had in Yugoslavia at that time. And it's amazing to see you all and to present to you and to say what a great competition we have going here between the place where I now live, the University of Texas at Dallas, and your wonderful team. I am so proud of all the work that you guys are doing. I wish every player that they play their very best match that they've ever played in their life, and may the better team win.
Thank you very much, Representative Madden. Now, from our local City of Richardson, Mayor Gary Slagle will say a few words.
Thank you very much. It is an honor to be here, and we as a city and a region are very proud of the University of Texas at Dallas, and today particularly proud of our chess team, who are going to perform in a fantastic manner today. I understand at stake is a Transatlantic Cup, so I'm anxious to come over here in the next few days and take a look at that cup that this team wins. So, University of Belgrade, that was a challenge. I don't know if you recognize that or not, but we think it's a great event and appreciate the opportunity to participate in this today. So thank you so much, Doctor. I'll give this back to you. Here. Thank you. Shoulder. And now, a part of our match we've all grown used to, our UT Dallas chess cheerleaders. Come on out here.
All right.
All right, we'll get some cheers here to get everybody excited for the match.
Dallas! UT! Dallas! UT! Dallas! UT! Dallas! Green, orange, and white, fight! Comets fight! 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 Let's run! Fight! Comets fight! Let's go, Comets! Let's go! 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 Let's go,
All right. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Oh, we'd also like to say hello to Drasko Moskovic, our former team member. Brasco, hello, Dallas.
We have also a surprise for you.
Hey guys, I just want to say hi and good luck to both games. It's been a nice time in Dallas and I hope to see you guys again. Good luck.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the 4th annual Transatlantic Cup, pitting a fantastic chess match of the University of Texas at Dallas versus the University of Belgrade in Serbia. This is the 4th annual match. UTD lost the first match on the last game by a slight score, but has come back strong and won the last 2 matches. In fact, last year's match was quite a blowout, and so we're very interested in seeing what's going to happen this year. We wrapped up the opening ceremony a few minutes ago, and the games have started. So let me introduce the people who are joining me for this broadcast. My co-host again is John Jacobs. John is the Senior Vice President for Economic Development at the City of Richardson. And for those who don't know, Richardson is the Dallas County community where the University of Texas at Dallas is located. John, you want to say a couple of words to the audience?
Well, it's fun to be here. It's fun to be kind of a equivalent of a sportscaster for a chess match, and I'm pleased to be here. I have a little experience playing chess. Started when I was a youngster and had the privilege of playing in and winning a Texas State Championship and writing some articles and newspaper columns on chess. So it's been really kind of a lifelong thing for me, and this is really what they have going at UT Dallas is really the ultimate. We just, as part of the opening ceremony, witnessed the UTD cheerleaders coming out and cheering the team, getting the team fired up, and that I know when I was 15 years old, that would have been the greatest thing that could have happened. It's still nice to see it today.
So it's good to see the competitive spirit. Now, we have 2 special guests joining us for the commentary. They both are undergraduate alums of the University of Texas at Dallas. In fact, they're members of the chess team. Now both are in graduate school here at the university, and we're really excited because they're both grandmasters, so they're going to help us understand what's really going on with the games. First, to my left is Alejandro Ramirez. Alejandro, you want to introduce yourself?
Well, it's a pleasure to be here analyzing these games. I have played the 3 previous matches between the University of Texas at Dallas and the University of Belgrade. I won my first game, and I lost my first game, but was able to recover and win the last 2. And I think that this is a spectacular match. It's followed by many, many spectators around the world, and it's really exciting to be here.
Thank you, Alejandro. And for those of you who recall last year, I think it was last year, Alejandro had a great peace sacrifice in his game to break open his opponent's king, and we were all cheering that one on in the commentary room. And now over here next to John, we have Eamon Simitowi. Eamon, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay. Hello, I also went here to UTD from 2003 to 2006. So I was a member and I'm now back, and I wish I was playing, but I'm just rooting for my team and hoping that I'll smile at the end of the day. Thank you.
Okay, well, enough of the words. The match has started. We have one of the games up, and I'll turn it over to these guys to tell you what's happening.
Well, we've gotten right into it here, and the first game that we're taking, this is a 16-board match, so there are 16 games going simultaneously, and we'll be skipping back and forth between those games to keep you up to date on the progress. This first game that we're looking at is a game on board 6 between John Bryant from UTD, who's playing the black pieces, and Vaso Bilesic from Belgrade, a FIDE master who has white. And
Well, I think that's one of the beauties about chess is that even between strong grandmasters, there are always differences in thinking. I actually would consider very strongly to play d takes e4, just because right now white has the pair of bishops, and the pair of bishops means having the two bishops against any other configuration. For example, here black has a bishop and a knight, and this could be dangerous in a very symmetrical position. So I like to imbalance it a little bit. I would strongly consider taking on e4, and after white recaptures the pawn on c5 right here, move the rook up and try to create some counterplay down the d file, taking advantage that black slightly better developed. That means that he has more pieces out on the board. And actually, John Bryan agrees with me.
John Bryant does agree with you, and he has played d5 takes at e4, and now is white going to recapture or to capture the pawn on c5 immediately, or will he trade queens first and retain the castling privilege?
Well, this is not an easy decision. The problem is that if he captures the pawn on c5 right away, he gives black the possibility of trading queens here, and then the king might be somewhat exposed. This is not as important as in a game with queens because there is no longer a direct attack on the king, but that will give black some chances on the d file, this one right here. However, trading the queens by white gives black immediate control of the d file, so either way it's an uncomfortable decision. I wouldn't be surprised if right now Blesic is actually considering a move such as queen c2, trying to retain some other kind of chances and maybe keeping the queens alive.
Wow.
Of course, he would have to calculate if black is able to hold both the pawn that he's attacking on e4 and the pawn that he's attacking on c5.
Let's see here. Okay. Here's a game between Nelson Lopez with UTD, who's playing the black pieces, and his opponent is, let me see if I can get this pronunciation right.
Drilevic.
Okay. What is that, Armando?
Drilevic.
Okay.
You just pronounce the J like an I.
All right. Okay, very good. And so our guy has the black pieces. The white's last move was to recapture a pawn here. He played knight on f3, captures on d4, so this knight's sitting in the center of the board. White's already castled. His king is in relative safety. Black's isn't. The pawn structure's already become unbalanced. Black has the bishop pair. What's your kind of assessment or gut feeling, Alejandro, on this position?
Well, looking from the opening moves, being a grandmaster, I can look at the notation and more or less visualize in my mind how it started. It's clear that white, she went from a very unorthodox type of opening. She actually did not follow what the theory or what the books recommend to play, and I think she might have gotten herself into a little bit of problems. Although material it's equal right now, again, we have this battle of black having two bishops and white having two knights, as in the other game. Immediately, the problem might be swinging this rook from a8 to d8. And notice how this creates a pin on the d file. White's going to have to be able to counterattack in some way, maybe by pushing this pawn forward eventually and trying to create some problems with the bishop that doesn't have a lot of squares. I think that there's going to be a very, very strong conflict in the next few moves that will define the game.
Here's another game that we have going. UTD player has the white pieces, Vendrikas, and he is battling Bojovic.
Well, to give a little background on the game, this is pretty much a Benko gambit. It's called Benko gambit because the inventor is Hungarian-American Grandmaster Paul Benko. He was one of the strongest players in the 60s. And a gambit in chess means sacrificing or losing on purpose a pawn in order to gain activity for your pieces. And as you can count, white has an extra pawn. Now, this kind of positions are very typical and they're very interesting. Even amongst grandmasters, it's not very clear if black has enough compensation for this pawn that he has lost. In this position specifically, I think that both sides have a lot of chances. And it's actually not so easy to answer which piece is better. If white recaptures with the bishop, he will have the problem of losing control over some key squares, and the fact that the bishop will be a little bit exposed on the queen side might become a problem. On the other hand, taking with the pawn has a disadvantage of doubling pawns. I think that after pawn takes, black will not retake the rook, but instead will continue pressuring this pawn that has maybe drifted a little bit away from white's army, and if black's able to regain material equality, he should have a better position. Well, in this game we have Gogte against Sarinach. and I think that it's a really even game. As you can see, both sides have
Okay.
even amount
Let's
of
see if I can
material.
converse this game.
And more importantly, if you notice, this pawn structure is very close to symmetrical. I mean, we have 3-on-3 and 3-on-3 right there. And eventually, if black's able to get in c5, both pawn structures are identical, and it's really difficult to believe that either side will be able to gain a strong advantage, considering that most of the position is pretty much the same. This is probably the drawest game that we've seen so far, but then again, I mean, both players are known for loving complications, and they can pull it out of pretty much any kind of position. Wow, well, what to say? This is quite the opposite of what we just saw. This is a very imbalanced position. Even for me, being a grandmaster, I can't evaluate it just immediately. I have to like take a little bit of time to actually see it. As we can see, the pawn structures are pretty shattered for both sides. Already, you can see a very big weakness around the king for Sal. But he is a strong player, and he doesn't just make these weaknesses for no reason. He also has a very strong advantage in space here in the center, which is preventing black's pieces from coming to this side. I actually like Sal's position a lot. If black had castled already, that might have changed things. But at the moment, the combination of a potential passed pawn on d5, the threat on f6, and the lack of coordination between black's major pieces, those being the two rooks and the queen, I think give white a strong edge in this position. I think that Sal is a very strong player, and he will be able to convert this into a win. Sal just went with us to Cuba to represent UTD in a match against Cuban University, and although he lost 1.5-1/2, he did show a very, very strong performance, and I'm sure that he will be favored in this game.
Whoa.
Oh, this is Sal's game, and it has taken definitely a very interesting turn. From what I see, I believe that black has sacrificed the full exchange, but is trying to get some kind of compensation. He regained one of his pawns by sacrificing the exchange, and is trying to get a second one with this pressure, strong pressure over this very weak b2 pawn, taking advantage that this rook is still very much out of play. And although white doesn't really have any losing chances in this position, I mean, he can always sacrifice the pawn back just to bring out some pieces, unless he can like really save that pawn on b2. There is no real try for victory for white. So it's very important for him to keep that pawn under protection.
Here's our Nelson Lopez game again, and has white managed to right her ship here?
Well, no, actually, I think that Nelson played precisely what I had expected. He took that knight on d4 as we had said, and then played this important move h6, which gave some squares for his bishop on this diagonal. I am, however, very skeptical of his last move. His last move before this bishop a3, which was just played, was rook d5, a very, very strange move, whereas I think that it was more important to try and finish development.
So would you have castled in this position 2 moves earlier?
The problem with castling right now is that it leaves this pawn undefended. The way that it leaves it undefended is that if black takes with the pawn, the queen will recapture this knight. So that means that the rook is right now the only one that is responsible for the defense of that pawn. So you don't want to castle right away. But, however, I am wondering why he just didn't try to defend against the threat of bishop a3, preventing him from castling.
What would the move to have for black to play here to avoid bishop a3, which...
I am mainly analyzing the simple queen a6, which creates some pressure against the f1 rook and defends the a3 square. Of course, that's not the most natural move in the position, but as an experienced grandmaster, I know the importance of castling. And I think that not allowing black to castle would put him in a lot of pressure.
Okay. So for the beginner and intermediate players, if white moves his bishop to here, then that bishop will control this long diagonal, including this square. And black legally can't castle at that point because his king would be moving through a square where he'd be in check. So we call this interdiction in chess. And certainly when you have still queens on the board, it's very dangerous to allow your king to be interdicted and prevent him from castling. So that's what's going on here, and it's a little bit scary now for black after he decides to play rook to d5, now bishop a3. White's not too worried about that pawn. The main thing he wants to do is try to keep that black king from castling. So black now does play queen takes pawn.
Well, he has to have some compensation for not castling, and he has some nice central control, which is the only saving grace in his position. Of course, now that he has taken that, I'm expecting white to play a rook ac1, and then taking on c6. But as we've seen, this game has been really unexpected. White has, well, there you go. White actually does play rook ac1. And, okay, queen d3 is an interesting attempt to try to get some pieces off the board and kind of try to diffuse the threats that white may be posing. Now, again, as a grandmaster, I would never trade queens being white. That queen is essential to the attack. And the only move I'm realistically looking at is queen f4, which threatens an invasion in the very important and very weak square b8. And suddenly, that king is really feeling uncomfortable.
Here's the game we were talking about a while ago where White, even though he was the exchange ahead, was trying to figure out a way to get his rook in the game. It looks like he's somewhat accomplished that by managing to get his rook to the A file, where the rook can potentially infiltrate black's position along that A file.
Okay.
And so black's last move was pawn to H5, gives his king a little bit of a hiding spot here on H7 in the event of a check.
Oh, okay. This is a typical position in what we normally call domination. So the best chance for black here would be to try and put pressure on the queen side, because this is where he's strong. Now for white, he should try hard that black doesn't get a chance to really dominate the queen side via the b2 pawn. So now. There are other ways. I mean, maybe knight d1 might be playable, but knight c2 looks strong. Maybe white should try to distract black. Maybe rook a7 check. The problem is black has a good square on h7. Okay, rook a3 looks interesting. White is trying to prevent black from dominating the advance on the queen side. So if white manages to take control of the queen side, then the game should be okay for white.
So I didn't really study his opening too much because he played like Slav, Nimzo-Indian, and something else. So a4 I think is not the main line, but I just wanted to play something less popular, so he didn't have a lot of preparation. And here, okay, here he just missed this knight a2 move, which is very strong, and his bishop is kind of trapped right now. If he, if he tries to go back to bishop a5, I just take on c5 and then b4, and I have very strong attack with. I'll see history versus. There we go. This is easier. Okay. Okay, so with bishop a5, d takes c, queen c5, b4. And this has to be winning for white because black is so underdeveloped and my attack is very strong.
So that's not what happened in the game. That's a variation that could have happened.
Here, he's just much worse, in my opinion. b6. Here I could have won the pawn, but I was not sure if I could hold off his bishop because it's now very strong. And my knight's kind of in the woods, and I don't know what to do right now. So if I play something like this, he can even, I don't know.
We looked at this variation, and we thought after bishop takes e6, he would play bishop b7 immediately, and then the possibility of bishop takes f7 check, followed by knight g5 check, would avoid his threat. But of course, you're two pieces down then, aren't you?
I don't like that. I don't want to sack I don't want to sack something for no purpose. Like, I wanted to play solid. I don't want to gamble here. Okay, so b6. I was not sure. I was thinking of knight b4. I was thinking of bishop d3. I was not sure how to take advantage of this position. a5. This is pretty much forced line, d5. Now, if he takes, I play queen e2, intermediate move, attacking his rook. Next move, I take this with a check, and my attack is widespread. I think I'm winning there. I didn't see e5 actually, which is, I think I'm still better after knight h4.
Is this what he played?
No, he played knight e5, which it's another move I didn't see actually, because I didn't think he could possibly get anything out of here. But apparently he's okay here. So a takes, so I get double pawns, but these double pawns are fine because he can't really take advantage of them. Queen c4, attacking this and this, so he has to defend with queen c8. Bishop g5. If he castles now, I play this, king h1, and here I should be just better. d6, I think.
Sure.
Actually, not d6. Maybe just rook g1. I'm just better. I think I'm better here because of my activity is better, and his rook is misplaced. Of course, he played rook a5. He kind of took away my square from a queen, but now his rook is even more in the woods because has no moves, and he just wasted one more move to put it nowhere. So rook d1, I don't care about the a pawn. He can't really take it anyway because take here, and check on b5. Yeah, I thought I saw this line, but I didn't think he could possibly play this. Well, so when he played it, I was sure I either missed something or this has to be winning for white by force.
But by now you've seen the mate that he's going to run into.
Not really. I just saw the idea. Here, I knew if he plays knight d6, I have this queen e2, which is very strong. And here, it's a forced mate, queen f8. Not here. It's all forced, and it's mate. And he can't go here. And I think he missed this queen e2. Now he has to go back here, and I get the tempi now to get my queen to the 8-5.
And this is where we picked the game up. This is where we saw it. And then we came back at the end after you had
So you
chased
fought
him down.
for quite a, let's see,
Okay, here I knew he was going to have to play and take on d5. I was hoping he didn't see that he can take on d5. But I was pretty sure I had mate somewhere there. The line I was looking at was queen g5, mainly this, and rook e7. And he has no good checks to escape the mate. He's losing something here. There's no way he can get out of this. Rook d7, queen d7.
So here's the question. These two guys tried very hard to see the mate. And I think they took, what, how many minutes? But you guys didn't find it, right?
we didn't find queen e3. That was
They
a
didn't
nice
find
move.
it. So did you find it before you played into the variation there?
No, the point is, I didn't, like, here.
Right
here.
Yeah, right here. This is where we started
Okay,
trying to
here,
calculate it.
I was pretty sure I had mate somewhere, but I mostly went by instinct because it just had to be there something. Just had to be. There's no way there's nothing there.
So there you have it, guys. He did it on instinct.
I didn't see.
This position, really, you had to start calculating, because you've got a lot of checks here.
Yes, a lot of checks. So another move that wins is b3.
Right? Look at that.
That was John's suggestion, b3. That's what we thought you were going to play.
But here, it's
See-
amazing. King d4.
Oh, really?
He keeps going further, and I have no mate. Not yet, anyways. I have to give a check to go back. I was thinking of playing this line, and now his king is a little bit further.
Wait a minute. What about this after? Wait a minute. After queen e3, this is queen e3. What about rook d1? It goes from here, queen e7, e8 check.
Oh, this mates, yeah. Yeah, this mates. I guess I would have found this one.
We didn't.
But the
John
thing is-
suggested b3.
B3 looked like it.
The thing is, here I didn't want to go into this line because here I didn't actually have a mate. I mean, I have mate hanging like rook d1, but it's not really mate. Here in this line, I actually have two mates hanging for him, queen d3 and b3. So the only way to avoid both of them is the line he went to. Or, yeah, and there's b3 as well. But this just loses to queen e4. Queen d4. Yeah, and I just take a queen. I was pretty sure I would win somehow here.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
But thank you for joining us for another edition of the Transatlantic Cup. Thanks to our commentators, John Jacobs, Grandmaster Eamon Simitowi, and of course we had Grandmaster Alejandro Ramirez. So long for now, and we'll see you all next year.